It's Magical Theory podcast time.
Aww. Magical Theory podcast time.
We got a wild pup. We got a wild pup today.
He may scream.
He may scream.
We'll see. He's
smushed his face up here.
Just...
Hey, lay down, buddy.
He was talkative this morning, and I was like, why are you talking right now?
He was very, very chatty. He's a chatty Cathy.
Stop talking to the other puppies. How is everyone doing? It is the beginning of January.
I know. I teach tomorrow.
You're about to start again.
It's a disaster.
It's a disaster. You're all prepped, though.
Yeah.
Like, you got... we came into the new year, and then, it took a couple days, and then it's like, okay, I guess it's time. Even for me, where I was like, oh, I should really get on the PhD.
I got on it at the schedule that I was expecting to. I was like, I'm not going to do it before New Year's. The timing of everything, I was like, gives me a whole week. I'll just do everything that week.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah. I do want to point out that the abbreviation MTPT for Magical Theory Podcast Time, JP has pointed out, MatPat without the vowels.
It's just a theory.
That's a magical theory. That's what we're going for. MatPat, please don't sue us. Just kidding. I feel like we played D&D last night.
Yes, we did.
Oh my gosh. I love playing Dungeons and Dragons, and unfortunately, we don't have time, and
we also rolled exceptionally
don't have a DM for it. So I was really excited when Piper Mage volunteered to run. We're playing the Strixhaven
Magic
adventure,
school.
yeah, Curriculum of Chaos,
mm-hmm.
which I'm like, yes, please. So I am playing, you're not going to be able to see it, but I can just talk about my character, because I always love, being like, okay, I have to think about this person now. And so my character is an elven sorcerer. She comes from a very noble background. Her name is Tasha Greengrass. And she's there's more to her than what I shared with the other players last night, though it is in my literal notes in my bio if any of them wanted to look at it. But yeah, she has a legacy. She has a Greengrass legacy at this school, and so I'm basically building her in this kind of traditional noble sense. Actually, I will say I talked about Schitt's Creek. Did I talk about it last week?
Just to me.
Oh,
yeah.
About that, how I binged all 6 seasons.
Yeah. We didn't do an episode last week. Or we did
it
Monday.
Did. Yes, we did. Yes.
Monday.
So I was inspired by... So I'm reading the behind-the-scenes book from Dan and Eugene Levy. And... so I'm reading about, how they approached, coming up with the idea of, or the context, the setting, and what they wanted to do with the narrative, and what they made sure to avoid. For example, they didn't want it to be, goofy humor, where they would just make shit jokes all the time because of the name of the town. And also, they were very particular about this place being very accepting, and that the point is that the jokes are more about the Rose family, who is this rich family who lost everything. So the jokes are on them rather than the other way around. And so one of the characters, the daughter, it's Alexis. I didn't want to be as, ridiculous as her. She's just very, if you haven't seen the show, I don't know how to describe her. She's just very kind of, just open and just kind of I don't know. She's very charming in her own way, but also very unlikable when you first meet her. So I didn't want to be that unlikable, but I wanted to kind of extend that thinking that I've been doing with that show, with my character. That's Tasha. And Jeff, you're playing also.
A bard, a tiefling bard, Evelyn Wright, Evie. She's basically a princess, literally. But she is the sixth... she's the youngest of 6, so she's not actually, important to the family.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's, kind of interesting. Just, it was only episode 0,
so
I don't have that much to say about her yet, but she's interesting. Yeah.
Y'all know me by now. When I, get interested in something, I'm just, obsessive for a very, intense period of time.
I thought it would be really interesting to have, a royal that is interested in art.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it would be fun.
Mm-hmm. And we're also playing with 2 other people.
Yeah, all 4 of us are charisma-based characters, so we're gonna make friends.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And it's at a magic school. Well, not necessarily a magic school. A school that does stuff, and magic is one of the things, but they also study other topics. So it'll be fun. It'll be very fun. What else? Anything else going on?
No, I don't know.
I've been making lots of videos and doing prep for videos and like fixing the Discord and like doing all sorts of like WizardPhD tasks. Like my to-do list is just
it's long, but you've chipped away at it.
It's long, but it's also like I have this like so for the what is the thing the type indicate the strength space thing.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it, but yeah.
So Clifton strengths. Okay. One that we share is ideation. But you were like, that's your top one. Mine is intellection. But I do have ideation in there somewhere in my top 5 or 10. It might be in the top 10, not the top 5. But so every now and then it like goes into overdrive. And then I'm just like, what about this idea? I can do a new series and then I can do this and that. And then you're just like, all right, let's like, because I feel like then when I get in that mode, then I'm in very action. Like, let's do it right away. Not even get to the next. It's like ideation on the first level and not going more into it. And you're like, all right, let's think about this. All of that to say, more content is coming. It's planned. And it's exciting.
Yeah, you did have a morning where it was like, oh my gosh, there's like 20 ideas coming at me right now. I'm just trying to drink my coffee here, you know. No, it was good.
I have endless ideas. Well, you suggested that I play Hogwarts Legacy. Something I have not nailed down and finalized just yet. I have the January streaming schedule, but I don't have the weekly Hogwarts Legacy schedule determined yet because there's too many options, to be honest. There are
so many options. Yeah.
And one of the ideas Jeff came up with is that I should stream, the Wednesday streams should be me dressed as Wednesday Addams.
And playing
as Wednesday.
But one of the issues with all of this is that how many characters are you going to have? Because then your progress is going to be divided by...
Yeah.
However much, you know, are you going to have a main character that you like play every day?
I mean, I think that, this is the back and forth, is whether I think that I'm leaning towards finish the game one time and then go crazy with it, like all sorts of stuff. Though I don't know. I am slow at playing games, so I know that I'm going to read every single book, every little pop-up thing and be like, what new lore do we get this time, you know? So
that's perfectly healthy and fine, I think.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. I just think it's going to be really funny because the more saves you have, the slower it's going to take.
Oh, that's true. Well, because one of the other ideas I had, you know how that sorting hat thing that your mom got us, how it talks and tells you? So one of the ideas I have, and I don't know, maybe I just am adopting chaos as part of my brand, is like starting the stream, hitting the hat, seeing what house it says, and that determines which character, like which house.
First game?
No, for like, if we can have, let's say we can have 4 save files, one of each, and then be like, let's continue.
I don't know how many saves we'll be able to have.
I don't either.
It could be 1.
It could be.
Then you gotta beat it, delete it.
What house, for those of y'all who watched Bad Plans, We Make Bad Plans, what house do you think Kins would be in? Kins is a half-elf druid.
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor?
Yeah.
Kins doesn't feel like a Gryffindor to me. She feels like a Hufflepuff.
No, she's a Gryffindor.
Well, she also has stats like a Ravenclaw, though. My int was just like... Wasn't that the... Oh, no, my wisdom was 22, not my int. Never mind. But still, like, she read a book for 48 hours straight so that she could get that +2.
It was madness.
To her ability.
It's not sleeping.
Oh, man. Chaos brand. What is the merch?
I mean, Jessie is definitely a Hufflepuff.
No, yeah, you're right. Kins is less Hufflepuff than Jessie.
Jessie's just welcoming, loyal. straightforward.
Just a little dwarf paladin.
Can't
loves
lie.
soup, loves to feed people.
Feeding people.
Yeah, no, you are totally Hufflepuff.
The good soldier, bad soldier. That was one of my favorite ones.
What are you going to use as your in-game name? We haven't talked about this, like the two of us.
I'm not sure, yeah.
Are you just going to be McTan or Jeshy?
I don't know.
You don't play Jeshy in other games, do you?
Mm-mm.
I guess Divinity. That's
usually
the only
Mick.
other one. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's because
we're playing as that,
yeah.
Meanwhile, it's like, what is your character name? I'm like, I don't know, kids. Even if it's not anything that could be a druid. I don't know. Part of me feels so. One of my questions is like, should I be me for the very first playthrough? Prof. Lynette.
Kins.
Like, not Kins, Lynette. Prof. Lynette. Like, my personality. And no. Jeff says no.
You should always have an avatar, in my opinion.
Well, everyone knows I'm Prof. Lynette. It should
always flow through.
I should just name myself Prof. Or Professor. So, like, in Wizards Unite, when McGonagall used to refer to me, and she'd be like, or not McGonagall. Well, someone would refer to me as Professor.
Yeah.
And then McGonagall referred to me as Lynette because it was my last name. So for first name Professor, last name Lynette.
Well, I mean, certainly, like, yes. I guess if you're placing yourself in the world, it's not anything I would do personally.
Yeah. I don't want to be Kins though because I want to. So okay, I guess where I'm leaning or what I'm getting at is that I can either play myself. Or I can create a new character, which I think I'm leaning more towards creating my own character because I don't want to play Kins because Kins is the default for all the games. So I want to be like a specific person. Unless I would play Kins if I were like just invested in trying to figure out how can I be a druid in Hogwarts Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Like
lightning.
Focus on those elemental, like that's what I would. That would be its own run though. I don't know.
All right.
Yes, Lynette is my first name. Hello, everyone. So today we are the password for today, let me give you the clues one more time in case you missed it, but the thumbnail has the answer and so does the description. First clue, location. I don't remember if I used that as a first clue before, but it's kind of like, the way I'm doing clues now is just like increasingly more obvious, like where it's like, okay, or I'm trying to. It doesn't always work out that way.
It's like 20 questions, person, place, thing.
Yeah, where you're like...
Set the category, movie. Location. Yeah, movie.
You're just playing charades. Okay, second clue is castle. And third... French. Well, I could have said Pyrenees. At that point, I was like, well, everything's like a proper place, like a noun or a place or something that's like, whatever. I'll just use French. So the password was Beauxbatons.
Beauxbatons. Yeah. I don't think we're going to travel to other castles. I do think we're going to travel, but I don't think we'll see these other castles. That's why I liked your question for the day of like, are we going to see it in a second release or, an expansion? Like, maybe we would see a different place.
Yeah.
I think that's the only possibility. I mean, we don't even have Quidditch. Like, we're not going to see other castles fleshed out.
Yeah, so the question for today, if there is a next Legacy game, like, okay, not Hogwarts Legacy, a different Legacy game, which of the following wizarding schools would you want to explore? Options. Beauxbatons, Durmstrang, Ilvermorny, which I'm wearing, my Rowan Retails from Rowan Reports, Ilvermorny shirt, and Wagadoo.
Wagadoo.
So, with Wagadoo, we do know in Hogwarts Legacy that that's where Natsai Onai transferred from.
Correct.
And her mother
was a professor there?
A professor.
Yes.
And will be the divination professor at Hogwarts. Also got
We know that for sure?
Yeah. It was in... Let me pull it up again.
That's why they moved.
Yeah. What's unclear is how...
This is an interesting dynamic that we have not seen, but is not uncommon.
Yeah. Transfers?
In everyday life. No. Well, transfers, but also the child of one of the teachers.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen that, right? Have you ever seen that?
Hold on. Let me think. Kids, well, no, because... No, not Neville. I'm thinking present day because Harry and Hermione and Ron and Ginny, none of them work at Hogwarts.
Right.
The Malfoys don't work at Hogwarts.
Which is, okay. Harry should have been a professor, not an Auror, but whatever. I'm over it. I had this conversation when Wizards Unite came out. I was like, yes, I get that when he's a kid, he's like, oh, I should be an Auror, but like, come on.
Oh, don't worry. I have a note about Harry later on.
Ooh.
Well, actually, it's not serious. It's just like you know how I ponder, where I'm just like, oh, this is what the book says. I wonder, like, going either present day or back in the 1890s, what is it like then? Yeah. Oh, I wanted to show. I'm like, what am I doing here? Natsai. This was her character card. And all it says is that she grew up in Matabeleland, Africa, where she attended Ouagadougou, the largest wizarding school in the world, and transferred when her mother became the school's divination professor. So it doesn't say when exactly that was, but it does say that...
Probably this year, maybe. That could be interesting.
It could be, yeah.
She's also new.
It was just like, hey, who are you? Who are you?
What we've seen of her is... Well, that's an interesting thing, too, because, like, if she transferred, does she just get sorted as, like, a 50 or whatever?
Well, she's like...
just like us.
Yeah.
I feel like she's going to be really interesting. She might be the most interesting one to me.
For companions? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
I'm partial to Amit because I love history, so, like, I just... want to know the little secret he's going to uncover. Yeah. I'm sure there's several.
No, you know he has a depth of information.
Or like you always go to him and be like, hey, do you know anything about
Give me
X?
this book. Yeah.
He's like,
It's just the encyclopedia.
He's like, he's Hermione.
He's his own Wizarding World Lore. Yeah.
He should be the feature for Hogwarts Legacy Lore. Just always flows through Amit. Everything Amit says becomes its own video or short.
Yeah, Amit has his own series. See, this is what's happening.
I know.
New series.
I know.
Who has the time for this?
It's gonna evolve,
Yeah.
3 months in.
Yeah.
We'll be doing new things with the game.
Ouagadougou is fun to say. Alexa says in Ouagadougou, they teach you self-transfiguration. So I will say, based on this poll, the biggest chunk right now is 31% of the votes are going to Ilvermorny. We were talking before stream, not quite surprising that that's the biggest chunk, given that we have a big audience in the U.S., but also it's like we have that connection in the Fantastic Beasts series, like where they're in... Ilvermorny for just a little bit.
Yeah, it's the most fleshed out one.
Yeah. Oh, wait, they aren't in Ilvermorny.
No.
It's the Ilvermorny professor, or what's her face, comes over.
I'm thinking about self-transfiguration because, of course, we've talked about this before.
I mean...
Merlin, everyone would just make themselves into Merlin.
That's where it came from.
But also, I'm thinking about, like...
The plural of Merlin.
How many wizards... who are powerful enough and learning transfiguration, cast it on themselves, turn themselves into a cupboard, boom, no one ever finds them, they just are a cupboard forever. This is why I'm going to have to go around, as I know, through Hogwarts and try to untransfigure everything and be like, what is this? Is this a dragon?
Yes. So, okay, one of the things, when we were rereading recently the dialogue, the full dialogue for Harry Potter Wizards Unite for research purposes, and so Penelope was okay. There were two layers to this. She was in a photograph, so she was trapped in the photograph.
Yes.
That was displayed,
right?
Like, or whatever, like in a photo frame. Like that's what I envisioned it as. I don't know if it was described that way.
Right.
And then Constance turned that with a witch inside into a paperweight.
Right.
And you can't break out of it.
No, it's a devastating logic problem because we've talked about this.
Anyone can turn anyone into anything. Danger.
Yeah. You always have that slippery slope with something like shape change.
I think so. The idea, or like, if I were to imagine the world, the wizarding world, like as a game, like that is designed.
Yeah.
There is like there's a rarity of like
because it's extremely difficult.
Yeah, because of the difficulty. Like this doesn't happen often, and therefore that's why you have these big baddies that like do wild, atrocious things.
Not everyone can make a Horcrux.
And it's not that everyone's like on, because I'm telling you, like, if all of this is possible, I would be so paranoid. I've said this several times. It's probably annoying that I keep saying it over and over. I'd be like, nobody touch me. Let me just I would specialize in some sort of like extreme protego that is always around me.
Right.
Where I'm like anti-magic.
This is what D&D suffers from too, is like player paranoia.
A society has to exist. Like, you have to have trust for a society to exist.
Accept. One of the ways out is that the people who are trying, that you can reverse magic with magic. That's incredibly important.
Yeah.
It's an important part of the equation. So I often think like, well, one thing like my self-transfiguration, if you self-transfigure yourself into a cupboard, you're probably not doing it up against the wall where you like just look like a cupboard. You'd be in the middle of the room and someone would come in and be like, why is this new cupboard here? And then they'd be like, oh, hey, professor, I think, Kin's turned herself into a cupboard. Boop, and you're back.
What if I did it on purpose?
Somehow that works.
Like, leave me alone. I turn into a non sentient object.
But it does seem like...
I retain my stats?
One of the issues... Well, maybe that, you have to give, like, crime fighters... Or have to have special tools. So you have to, because you would think...
there's different divisions, like specializations.
Voldemort could just turn everyone into, like, a paperclip and put you away and, like...
just collect you.
You don't leave any body behind. It's, I don't even know.
No, it's... It's interesting. I mean, yes. And also there are other wizarding schools. That was another thing that I kind of wanted to walk through. I don't have all of them up because YouTube only lets me put 4 options. Unfortunately. We have our Beauxbatons Academy of Magic. Okay, it says Beauxbaton. Doesn't it say Beauxbaton? Is that how you would read that? I know the pronunciation is supposed to help me say it.
Does baton have 1 T?
Does baton have 1 or 2 T's?
Like the baton you toss?
I think it has 1. That's why I was like, I say Beauxbaton because I feel like that's how I should say it. I don't know.
The Pyrenees.
Mm-hmm. And yes, Slughorn does turn himself into a chair, back to the self-transfiguration conversation, and then we just go boop.
He does.
So something notable about Beauxbaton is that the famous Nicolas Flamel, and his wife, Perenelle, they met there, and they attended Beauxbaton. And also, we see this school featured in the Triwizard Tournament. What else do we got here? Do I have this selected? Nope. I'm trying to go to the next tab. Then we have Durmstrang. Mm-hmm. Which...
Dormstrang. Dorm.
They had a dark reputation. I don't know. I feel like they're still lingering in Harry Potter's time of, like, kind of at least an intense reputation, right?
Yeah.
But
a long, hard winter.
We have but we have a notable alumna is a female. Alumnus, Gellert Grindelwald.
Also Victor Crumb.
And Victor Crumb. So, not everyone... Because this is the thing about, like, having different
it's like Slytherin. Schools
represented where it's like, oh, you can't just, like, flavor an entire group of people by one person.
It's always the problem with the iceberg method of storytelling is, like, if you want to give a place character, you're also probably giving it, like, stereotype.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's useful and always fun to then meet characters from it who buck the kind of stereotype, especially if the knowledge of the place is from a different character's perspective in the first place, where it's like, oh, hey, this is a harsh place, or Slytherin's an evil house, and then it's like, oh, hey, this Slytherin is, like, super good.
Mm-hmm.
Like the charms professor, right?
Oh, Professor Ronan.
He's the main bad guy for sure.
He's not the main bad guy. He's just a goofball. Just like calling it now. Place your bets. So those were the two schools that were in the Triwizard Tournament that we've seen a little bit about. In the movies, it's not just an all-gender school for Beauxbaton or for... in the movies it is that way, sorry. In the books it's not.
Right.
And we see that, because I remember discussing that in the fourth book where we were talking about that. Then we also have Ilvermorny, which I think Jenny asked earlier in the chat that Canadian witches and wizards would probably go to Ilvermorny. So here's the thing, is that I think there's another entry that after I go through these profiles that I'll read where it talks about that there are more schools than the ones that are named. It's just that these are basically like the accredited ones.
Oh, dear.
So this, there's a lot of I won't go through all of this, actually, because let me just scroll through and show you.
Whoa!
It's
so long.
The literal history so this involves
the founding.
a lot. The founding of it is just really a lot. Yeah. The link is in the description. I'll just go to this shorter article that is, the American Wizarding School. And there is connection to the Gaunt family and obviously being a descendant of Slytherin and all sorts of stuff that you can read in the previous article. But it's hidden in Massachusetts, also co-founded by a nomage. So this is part of the reputation of Ilvermorny is being one of the most democratic schools. Which descended from... The story is so intense, it's a lot. It's kind of like when I first... Not exactly when I first read about McGonagall and I was like, wait, there's a lot of stuff happening here. It's not just like these characters are simple. There's a lot of relationships and complexity and stuff. And then there's 4 houses, and they have different kind of like how people associate them with... To my understanding, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding of it is more like it's not like these really clean archetypes. I feel like there are these different. It's more. I don't know.
Ilvermorny specifically?
Ilvermorny. That's how I feel, but maybe it's because I wasn't sorted into Horned Serpent, which is supposed to be my Ravenclaw. I think, right? Isn't Horned Serpent the Ravenclaw analog that most people make? I was sorted into Puckwudgie. Which is more, I think, like the Hufflepuffish like house.
Well, it evokes that least, whether it is.
Yes, or not. That is my. That's why I say that. Is I'm like, I don't know that this is right.
It's right.
I'm a Ravenclaw.
You're a Puckwudgie.
I'm a Puckwudgie. It's Thunderbird, not Horned Serpent. It's Thunderbird. Got it. See, Ariana was sorted into Thunderbird, and I know for a fact that you say you're a Gryffindor, even though I think you're a Ravenclaw. So who's to say? I don't know.
Everyone's everything.
Everyone is everything.
All at once.
Then we have Wagadoo, which is... some of y'all were talking about the self-transfiguration. It is in...
Alchemy.
Uganda. And... yes, the astronomy, alchemy, and self-transfiguration. The thing that was interesting in this entry that I remember reading a little bit ago was that the wand is a European invention, right. And so students at Wagadoo practiced wandless magic, which I think would be super fun if we were like, hey, Natsai, what kinds of things? Because we don't know how much she's learned or like what her how that blends together, like her
I could
knowledge and
certainly
understanding.
See once we demonstrate the ability to do wandless magic, which it seems like we probably will be able to do, or it's all but confirmed. Maybe she will send us to her mom for some special lessons.
Possibly.
How to do it. I expect...
I want to max out the professor.
Based just on that line of even your professors don't know about this magic, I would expect us to kind of have subquests to go speak with all of the professors about what they know about our powers. or at least the option to like train with them or somehow see what they know. Mm-hmm. They'd probably be able to send us to books or adventures to like figure this out. Like, hey, have you thought about this? I don't know. I mean, just speculating, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was there.
Yeah.
What do we have here? This is the summary?
This is the summary here. I keep hitting the wrong button. Wizarding schools. The number of countries that have their own magical school is minuscule compared to those that do not. And, like, you can tell. Like, I said, like, literally 4 or 5. Apparently, there are 11 long-established and prestigious wizarding schools worldwide, all of which are registered with the International Confederation of Wizards. Smaller and less regulated institutions have come and gone, are difficult to keep track of, and are rarely registered with the appropriate ministry.
Mm-hmm. Probably a lot of homeschooling.
Yeah, like, that's something that I didn't, like, because, you know, the houses and, like, the affinities for, like, these groups within different wizarding schools, or even the school itself, is because we have, like, sport, like, and competition and that sort of thing. Though I guess, like, at the national level, it's more country-based rather than school-based, of course, because it's not. But they still have, like, the Tri-Wizard Tournament, which is school-based, that I didn't really give much thought to homeschooled witches and wizards. But, of course, like, you would have to, if you're not in an area, or if your parents flat out are like, no, you're not going to Hogwarts or whatever the case, then surely there are smaller, like, little pockets that exist.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You would think so.
And I don't know much about them.
I mean, it definitely calls into question the size of the wizarding world, as we've had this conversation several times before, of just, like, how small is it? Like, hypothetically, is very, very few wizards.
Yeah. So I was reading a lot about the Statute of Secrecy because I was trying to find if there was, like, actual excerpts from the statute when it was introduced. I saw, like, things that were more amendments that were, like, added on after, and it was, like, more of a full text of that. But
yeah.
It was talking about, like, after the decision to be like, we're going into hiding, then there was, like, this sort of, like, smaller villages, hamlets, like that, because that's in connection to Hogwarts Legacy. There are these little hamlets nearby.
Right. Why they exist.
Yeah, they exist because you have, like, witches and wizards that are
also because you have fast travel.
True.
It's very, very helpful for that. Yeah.
But that makes me wonder, though, if you, like, since the wizarding schools are such a big, like, landmark, a hub, do you think that there's probably not that many witches and wizards, like, far, far away from those areas, you think?
No, I think they are probably pretty spread out. Although, it's interesting because there's even neighborhoods. Like, we know that there are neighborhoods that are... True. But even they seem split, right? Because we go to Godric's Hollow, and it seems like there's muggles, like, going to church.
So that one, I also read an entry. Well, it was in that same section. It was about the Malfoys, and the Malfoy family was very vocal about...
Blacks live in London.
Mm-hmm. The Malfoys were very vocal about not wanting the Statute of Secrecy, and the reason was because they rubbed shoulders with, like, the Queen and, like, really...
Right, and it would help them if they could tell them they were wizards.
Yes, yeah.
I'm sure they still do.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think one way that we might see interact with these schools is through people coming to Hogsmeade. Like, I could see I, in fact, anticipate us meeting people from faraway lands in, like, the Three Broomsticks. And, you know, that there's probably going to be quest givers, or there's going to be travelers and whatnot.
I wonder how... So, okay, of course we communicate by owl, so I would imagine, like, heads of schools or teachers or professors from other schools would communicate just via owl. But I would imagine that there are certain things, especially given the context of a goblin rebellion, like, especially if it's spreading or if there's pockets popping up in other parts of the world. I mean, this was kind of like Wizards Unite. Like, the idea was that, like, well, for whatever reason, the British ministry took over instead of any of the other ministries. They were like, oh, we're going to be the one in charge. But they coordinated with, like, the international office and liaisons, and we're doing all the work globally. So that makes me wonder, like, whether there will be, even if it's just, like, for a brief visit or, like, a specific event where head of Wagadoo is coming in to talk to head of Hogwarts or something like that. And then the kids are like, oh, that's Wagadoo. You know how kids are, where they're like, let me tell you about this, especially since we know nothing, I'm assuming, about the wizarding world. I don't know.
Well, and I think, like, going out... Just Hogsmeade is a useful place for this because it's an all-wizard town, it's famous, and it's by Hogwarts. So
yeah.
People
who
may have business at
Hogwarts
probably stay in Hogsmeade, you know, especially if they're not kids.
You don't have a guest wing of, like, Hogwarts guest. No, that would probably be dangerous. You can't let people into your wizarding school. They could be Voldemort in disguise.
They could transfigure you into a cupboard.
Oh my god.
Or a paperclip.
Mm-hmm. Could be possible. Mm-hmm.
Or a speck of dust.
Well, okay. There's got to be a limit. There's got to be, like, a limit to magic, right? Otherwise, anything goes, and then it's out of control.
Well, we've had this conversation about Hogwarts Legacy of what free casting looks like.
Yeah.
You know, can we just walk up to, like, every single portrait and transfigure it into a rubber duck over and over and over again, every single one? I think, no. There's going to be big limits.
Yeah.
Just...
What's my cooldown?
Things are going to be invulnerable to certain types of magic.
True. No, that's true. Yeah. Can't just do magic everywhere to everything. That would be a wild thing to try to create. A fully destructible, interactable world of Hogwarts.
Well, that's where crowd control comes in, and then they allow you to turn everything into rubber ducks. Everything.
You just spawned rubber ducks for me.
Just a giant rubber duck.
So the last thing I want to show is this map that has, I counted, I'm pretty sure there's only 7 that's listed on here. Oh, I didn't even notice, like, the outside artwork around it. But you can kind of see, I wish I could zoom in. So Ilvermorny in North America. There's a Brazilian school, I believe. Wagadoo. We have Hogwarts. Oh, I didn't even notice this one up here. Beauxbaton.
No, that's Hogwarts up there.
Oh, this is Hogwarts,
yeah,
and then what's this? Beauxbaton, and what's this?
That's probably Durmstrang.
Oh, Durmstrang, because we don't know exactly where it is, but it's up here.
Yeah, and
so
then
this makes sense because they're so close together. Like this like
is this
triangle.
One out here, the Japanese one.
The Japanese school is out here. Yep. And this is as far as, like,
so if it's there, it's, like, off the main island of Japan. Interesting.
In terms of, like, writings, I think those are locations, but she wrote 11 right there, like, in this entry.
Yeah, she did.
So
yeah,
I don't know.
Those ones aren't. Then nobody knows where they are.
Well, maybe we don't. This is all of most of Hogwarts Legacy lore is outside the realm of my expertise. I just investigate the information as best I can. Go to wizardingworld.com and I'm like, all right, give me, like, official lore.
You're a good researcher. Otherwise, you know,
I
wouldn't have a PhD.
I better be a good researcher. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Shall we get to the chapter?
Yeah, let's pull for next week. Okay, so the schedule for Magical Theory is that this is chapter 8. We're going to do chapter 9 next week. I actually miscounted when I told you yesterday what the schedule was. So we're actually going to do a chapter 10. So we're going to end in chapter 10 of Order of the Phoenix, which is Luna Lovegood. And then there will be a special episode of Magical Theory podcast to kind of cap off the end of January and pause until we get through Wizards Unite, through Hogwarts Legacy launch, and then we'll announce when we bring back this podcast. But that's the current schedule, as we're running through.
Who knows? It could.
The month of January for sure.
It's hard to predict when we'll come back to full speed.
But we can't tell you when we're coming back.
No, we don't know.
Okay, should I pull a different one? Because I feel like we've had a similar category before.
Did we? Oh, yeah.
Why don't I just pull, like, a few, and then
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna go with this third one that I pulled.
Yeah.
For next week's password.
It's gonna be a good one.
It's gonna be a good one. Don't miss out.
I agree. The first two we've talked about adjacent things recently, so it's like, well, okay, how much do we want to rehash? You know?
Yeah.
But I don't think. Yeah, this will be good.
All right, it's time for. One's ready.
Turn to page 137, The Hearing. Today's lesson is called 3 Hours Early. The chapter begins with Harry entering the courtroom and recognizing it from the Pensieve. The Wizengamot comes to order, and Harry recognizes Percy, who makes no indication back. Dumbledore arrives in the nick of time, but also avoids Harry's attention. Amelia Bones leads the questioning of Harry, who recounts the attack. Dumbledore brings in Mrs. Figg to corroborate. Tensions escalate between Dumbledore and Fudge regarding why there were 2 dementors in Little Whinging. Harry is acquitted by a majority and cleared of all charges.
Dun, 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 dun.
Straightforward.
Good job,
to
Harry.
the point.
You did it.
I'm going to just leap right at the title because it is one of the lines that has stuck with me the most of all the books is when Dumbledore is like, oh, no, but I just happened to get here 3 hours early. He's like, I must have missed. Oh, you got our owl talking about the time and location change. He's like, I must have missed it. I happened to get here 3 hours early.
I wrote a lot of notes about Dumbledore. I love
that so much. I love it so much.
Dumbledore is...
It's just so coy and cold. It's like very cutting.
He is so calm right now, which is also
so
funny
calm.
because, there's always the discussion of the contrast between movie Dumbledore and book Dumbledore. Mm-hmm. And this one also kind of comes out to me. So, in the movie, he busts in, and that's, the short that you did.
Yeah.
Albus Percival, Wulfric Brian Dumbledore. And he's just, the whole energy he brings in the movie is very...
It's a bit more chaotic or energetic.
Let's go.
He summons a chair for himself, a little cushy chair, and he just sits in it.
Can I make a chair? We can make a chair in Hogwarts Legacy where we can,
But just anywhere. If I could, I would change the chairs that the students are sitting in into something more comfortable in the classroom.
Yeah. So, I wrote down, Dumbledore, up to a point, but I feel like even still, Dumbledore is killing them with kindness and logic. That's what I wrote down, is that basically his calm demeanor is very backed with, a logical thinking that no one can really refute. And that's what I loved about this. And he's like, oh, you need witnesses? You need evidence? I can help with that. Not in a sarcastic or insincere way, but he's just kind of let's get business done. There's a way.
I can bring her in. She's here.
Right.
There is a matter of factness about him, which is very contrastable with Fudge, and more in the book than the movie. I think you're absolutely right. It actually serves a purpose to be so direct and frank about everything, because he even flusters. I mean, that moment when Fudge spills the ink and then Dumbledore's like, well, you kindly didn't charge him because I'm sure, as you noted, even the best of wizards can lose control of their emotions.
Yeah. And all of this...
It's just so cutting.
Even after he was asked to leave the Wizengamot. He was asked to leave. I would not be so...
That summer, months ago.
Yeah.
No, he just... yeah.
But he is who he is, so Dumbledore
He has the benefit of fighting a larger battle.
Yep.
And so he can't overemphasize what's happening here. He needs it to be done, needs to do it directly. He's got to get Harry out of here.
Yeah.
I think his strategy is extremely good. First of all, it's all truth-based. Then, to your point, the preparation. I mean, the benefit of the preparation of always having somebody watching Harry, that even when Mundungus had left, Miss Figg was still there.
Yeah.
Of course, Dumbledore would know, probably already knew, that Squibs could see Dementors.
Okay, so...
I don't think he learned this. Fudge learned it, but Dumbledore probably knew.
Can we talk about the squib thing? Because there is a debate about the ambiguity of this scene.
Okay.
So, Mrs. Figg says that squibs can see dementors.
Yes.
And then as she's saying things, she says things, and Amelia Bones is kind of questioning her on what she's saying.
One was small and one was large.
And then Harry was kind of like, oh, it sounds like she was shown a picture of this. And so there are two different groups of people. One group saying that
she didn't actually see.
Squibs can't actually see.
No, I would go a different way.
And then there's another group that is like, well, she's getting. So this is what I think as well. I think that she's getting flustered. I think the pink in the cheeks and all this stuff, she's getting flustered because she's carrying this bag. She was already set off and is carrying baggage about being a squib. But in her own way, she's not like Filch being super aggressive and grumpy about it. I think that she is just saying, like, you know when you say the wrong word and then someone corrects you and you're like in this high pressure situation and you're starting to feel like, you know, embarrassed or anxious and you just like want to keep going. That's what I feel that she's going through. Or that's what I hope she's going through. I think
it's more likely, because Fudge even says we're going to verify that squibs can see dementors. I think the split, it would be more interesting of whether or not she actually saw it.
Yeah. She could just be describing
But we do have her be like, don't put your wand away.
She could have seen...
She saw some of it.
I mean, depending on, like, how open...
It's not like she can help.
How open the space is, like if there's nothing around, like, you can see for a long distance. If there's, like, trees and, like, buildings and, like, whatever around,
and she takes her responsibility seriously, too.
That's
true.
She was
watching Harry. I don't think that it was suspicious. I completely agree that it's just, she's flustered. She's a squib. She's never going to be in the ministry frequently.
Yeah.
She's never going to be in front of the Minister of Magic.
Yeah.
In front of the whole Wizengamot.
Yeah.
Filch would break too. Now, I thought she did really well, and I thought the representation was probably relatable.
Yeah.
The nerves.
Yeah.
Harry was nervous. And Harry is Harry.
Well, yes. Harry, speaking of Harry,
yeah,
there was a recounting of all of Harry's illegal uses.
Yeah.
Harry Potter. I very much enjoyed it because it was taking us back through the journey of like, oh yeah,
and at the end is the spilling of the ink, which I enjoy.
So
the house elf, and then Dumbledore's like, I can bring him here.
Yes.
And Fudge is like, I don't have time for house elves.
Yes. So what I wrote down was, okay, this was the thing I referenced earlier in the episode, is what would happen if, let's say, there was someone who used ancient magic in the presence of a witch or wizard with a trace on, but they themselves don't have access to magic, like our main character from Hogwarts Legacy. Would there also be a trial? Because I would imagine that people would come out and be like, serving the notice, being like, I don't know, Douglas McGee, you used magic in an unauthorized setting. And here's the dark. So I had a few different thoughts. This is like what I was thinking about our main character, because we don't exactly know the circumstances around whatever survival thing we did and how we have access to ancient magic and all that stuff. If you show up and there's no, like, it's, like, either contradictory of, like, oh, no, I didn't do it. Like, would that person go to trial and then the muggle, us, that also used magic come along with us? Or what if those people are no longer alive and then they show up and they're like, there's no witch or wizard alive. You're the only person alive. Let's take you in. This could be possible. I would love to see a Wizengamot trial with us sitting in the chair, answering questions from the minister, having Figg back as Figg comes in and he's like, Elias, whatever my middle name is, Figg, defendant of the accused.
Yeah.
My question is, but then I backed off of that because there was a comment in there that Dumbledore makes of like, this is a simple like underage thing. It's not...
That was the coup de grace of Dumbledore's whole thing, because I think there's really good representation of that there are moods within the Wizengamot. That, like, there are moods. Mm-hmm. These are powerful people. They've been summoned here for a simple case of underage magic. Now, yes, Fudge has his lackeys, but for the most part, like, first of all, Amelia Bones, I really appreciate her professionalism.
She is, she is the most...
Okay, yes, she has that moment about the Patronus, but for the most part, it's like, I'm going to take this seriously. I want the truth. I'm going to ask these questions. I don't care that she probably has a feeling of, like, why wasn't this just in my office? It was supposed to be and just got changed 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
And she knows the politics of the place.
Yep.
And the sea change that's been happening, but she's fair-minded.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that representation, the way that Lupin said she'll be fair-minded, and then even when she's in a different element, she is very... Yeah, she's just really... I think it's so lovely later when her daughter joins the DA.
Her name is Amelia Susan Bones.
Right.
Her middle name... I love how all their middle names are, like, just...
bilious.
Out there. So, yeah, one of the things I wrote down about Amelia is that she is the head of the Auror department. And so then I was like, well, I wonder what kinds of trials, knowing that Harry Potter becomes head of the Aurors in the future, what kinds of trials do they hold for Harry to be in this position
for Grim
also?
And Constance.
Well, then he's going to let Grim off
First
easy.
of all, yes, thank you.
I'm going to get mad again.
Yes.
I'm going to get so angry again. Harry, do not be
Conflict
lenient
of interest.
on Grim.
Conflict of interest.
Oh my gosh. But also, this is making me wonder about, like, so we have, like, a list of the ministers of magic over the years. I wonder, like, who heads of the Department of Aurors have been over the years, and if there's, like, similar kind of ebbs and flows about, like, how people's, like, demeanors
it was Barty Crouch.
Are, you know? Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Barty. Sorry.
I think not when he died. He had been moved to a different position, the International Cooperation or Sports and Games. I can't remember, but anyway.
Games and Sports, yeah.
To go back, I thought it was I like the representation of the Wizengamot's mood as well when Dumbledore's like, yes, laws can be changed clearly. Mm-hmm. Like a simple case of underage magic is now in front of the entire Wizengamot, and they all shift uncomfortably.
Yep. I mean, Dumbledore absolutely, like, rolled a natural 20 on his persuasion rolls for the... He did everything...
Helps to be right.
Yes, it helps to be right, but even if you are right, sometimes, like, people can get tripped up in the, like, clearly high stakes and, like, emotional aspects of trying to communicate what's at hand. And I think him being calm and then basically poking holes at every, like, retort back of being like, okay, well, here, like, this doesn't make sense, you're being inconsistent was basically the message.
Yeah, he has the moment with, like, well, if you don't think that it's Voldemort, I assume you'll be investigating. And he directs that at Amelia Bones.
Yeah.
Who gets a little uncomfortable or stares back at him, I think.
Yeah, she has, like, a frown. Yeah.
Come on, man. But it's a real thing. And the irony being, of course, that is what happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't Voldemort.
Yeah.
It's Umbridge. And the only time she speaks up is at that moment, which is, of course, she's evil.
She's the worst. Umbridge.
And so she frames it, because she's the only one who really gives a tete-a-tete to Dumbledore right there.
Yeah.
Because she gives it back in the flavor and in a persuasive way by being like, excuse me, are you accusing us of doing this?
I think I misunderstood you. So passive
Because she redirects it. It's at that moment to me where Dumbledore's argument weakens the most. Which is it gets closer to being like, he says it's either Voldemort or the Ministry.
Yeah.
And she basically redirects them a little bit to being like, or Harry is making it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like Occam's razor type thing that she produces, where it's like, oh, you think it's either this guy back from the dead,
okay,
or somebody conspiracy in the ministry, or it's just a kid lying.
I have a solution.
Yeah.
Give Harry Veritaserum. Give him Veritaserum.
I think it's probably illegal to give them Veritaserum.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Why is pleading the fifth legal a thing?
So you think they have that protection?
I do.
Oh.
Yeah.
I would give them Veritaserum. Hermione gives people Veritaserum
left
and right.
It's very extra
in the
legal,
future,
let's
in the
be
present.
honest. Oh, yeah. And then obliviates them.
You know that there's going to be a
why
scandal
can't they
later
do
for Hermione.
legitimacy? Like, why can't
there
they
are many options.
Well, we see it in the
especially if you're
Fantastic Beasts. They just torture people and
I think, yes.
Murder them.
So, there are,
justice.
We take an oath to be like, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, blah, blah, blah. There must be otherwise, then you're just going to accuse everyone of lying.
Right.
You must have some sort of formality of the...
Well, you have to prove that they're lying.
You do, but, to take a testimony, to make a testimony, there needs to be some sort of,
But this is also the difference between circumstantial evidence. I mean, in a lot of ways, all of the evidence that Dumbledore provides
is... you can get direct evidence, can't you? If you take a memory from someone...
Yes, but the means that you do...
What I'm saying is, if someone is willing to be like, I will... Harry's trying to say, I'm innocent.
I mean, willingness is interesting, because we have
then you could
lie
be
detector tests.
Let us in to my mind, do the legitimacy, and I'll, accept it. A willing creature, Yeah. But... That doesn't seem to be
I'm guessing
common.
I'm guessing it's expensive, and also that Veritaserum, it's difficult because there's probably ways around it. Ways of telling partial truths or whatever. I know we see in Wizards Unite that people are they overshare, and I never thought Veritaserum was that type of thing.
Yeah.
Although it does say you know who himself would be spilling his guts, so maybe it does evoke the truth, let alone zone of truth in D&D.
Yeah,
people don't have to respond. They're not compelled to speak.
True.
They don't. It's not like they have to say something and it has to be the truth. It's just if they say something, it has to be true. Mm-hmm. But here, maybe it's different.
It's just highlighting all the moments that people are pointing out about when Veritaserum is used.
Because Harry purses his lip and doesn't drink the tea when she gives it to him. So he is able to lie.
I guess. I just feel like it...
No, I think she gives it in the book as well. Because I think in the book we actually have that line of Harry being he envisions Moody being why are you drinking from a cup of your enemy? Don't drink this. And he doesn't.
Yeah, I think, so isn't kind of the purpose, though, of taking an oath, let's say, for a testimony,
right,
is because the idea and the protection is sure, you can take the fifth to not self-incriminate,
right,
but there's also another charge. So if you do lie, that's perjury, so there's a reason, there's a
but it's also why
foundation
why the fifth exists is because you don't want this justice system where you always catch 22 somebody on the stand, where it's you're either going to tell us that you've broken the law, or we're going to say you've broken the law because you perjured yourself.
What is frustrating me is the direct accusation in front of Harry. All they have to do is take his testimony.
Right.
And then that's it.
I think in normal times that's what it would be.
But everyone's on
So
edge.
we see the corruption of justice is really what's happening here. If Amelia Bones was just doing this with Harry, she would just have taken his statement.
Yep.
And sent him on his way. There was never going to be a crime. He might get a write-up or don't do this again.
Yeah.
In a similar way of any other one. I mean, even the reference to the house elf ones. That never got resolved. It's not like
True.
there was not even a hearing at all.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So that's to me the bigger point. Is even the hearing with Amelia Bones would have been more extreme. Now, the magic was maybe more extreme, but it was in front of more muggles, the cake hover charm. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to say. I mean, really, like, it's just a good chapter. It shows how these things progress, how justice can be corrupted, how a small group of like-minded individuals like Fudge and his little group in the right spots do make these sorts of changes, because it's not like Harry loses this. He wins overwhelmingly. Mm-hmm. And yet it still happens, and that's sometimes the point. Okay, it's very interesting. Yeah. It's a great chapter. I've always really liked this chapter. Just there's something about it. It's a good revealing of the mood of the wizarding world by like putting this small matter in front of what ultimately, I mean, yeah.
It's definitely showing it and not just telling us things are bad. It's like, no, things are bad.
And then we see the corruption of justice really get perverse, because then Umbridge tortures kids for months. Yeah. With the rubber stamping of the Minister for Magic. Yeah. And what bothers me a lot is that Scrimgeour doesn't punish Fudge. I mean, I think Umbridge goes to jail, but Fudge should have been in jail after this. Like, he rubber stamped her torture of children in this book. He gave her decree after decree. Come on. You don't just resign in disgrace. You go to jail. Give him the Wizengamot hearing. Put him in the chair.
Nope, the guy at the top gets to get away. Know. You get the protection of... You use her as a scapegoat and be like, we did it. We did it.
Yeah. Well, I was being fed lies. I was being lied to. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
We clearly... You know, something that is...
Fudge is a mood. Fudge is a real mood.
It's very pleasing to me, because when I was making the thumbnail for this video, I was like, oh, should I try to put Fudge up? There is no foundable in Wizards Unite for Cornelius Fudge.
Nobody thinks about him.
Nobody cares. Yes. Exactly. Your legacy is that nobody
has strong opinions anymore. Because, you just failed. You failed horribly. Fudged up.
Exactly.
So let's go out on that.
Exactly. Oh man, it was good. The last line that I'll pull, just to have an image of Umbridge. I know we have the movie Umbridge, and she is, excellent in her role.
Yes.
Harry says, or the line is, he thought she looked like a large, pale toad, and that also brings me joy.
It's always, book 4 is intense in its way. Mm-hmm. But it is book 5 where it's like, oh man.
Yep.
This is bad.
Yep.
And it's Umbridge, not Voldemort.
Yeah, it's the sneaky part of it.
It is.
Yeah.
Even when Sirius dies, I still am like, no, Umbridge is the problem in this book, not Voldemort. Mm-hmm. Like, she's just the worst. It's outrageous.
Oh, well... I guess that's
ready.
That's it for today. Thanks for hanging out. And until next time, Wands ready.